Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey Hearties, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host Nicole, and my wonderful co-host Theresa and I are back this week to talk about When Calls the Heart, season 11, episode 5, Stronger Together. It was written by Paul Redford, and I apologize if I mispronounce her name, but it was directed by Elise Lee Rogers. Hickam and Lee clash with the mayor of Benson Hills, and Gowan suggests a solution with huge implications for the town. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Nathan clear up a misunderstanding. What were your hot takes for this episode, Theresa?
I actually loved this episode. I thought it was the best of the year so far. I thought the stories, like I'm finally interested in the resort storyline, I think, because for the last few weeks it's been kind of you don't really know the whole picture, you don't quite know what's going on, but this week I started to get really invested. And then Lucas's investigation, kind of working through that storyline's starting to get really intense, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, overall great episode.
I think so too. I did enjoy it. I will say I do disagree just a little bit. I thought the focus on the resort and the politics was maybe a little too heavy this episode, but I still thought it was great.
Yeah, and I
Nonetheless.
totally understand
Yeah.
that. I've heard people say that the whole like political storyline has kind of changed the way some characters look at some of the like worldly aspects of Hope Valley. And I understand that it has changed some of the DNA of the show in a way, so that there's a lot of politics involved. And I totally get that. It's not everyone's thing, and it can be boring at times for sure. But I think this week, with certain things coming into play, I think it could get really interesting down the line for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that the resort is going to work out in the end, but it has been fun to see something
Yeah,
for Lucas.
for sure. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
And I will say, I really liked Lucas in this episode, especially regarding Nathan and Elizabeth. I love the way he handled it.
Yeah, I thought Lucas was great in this episode, between doing what he loves, which is the political slash business side of things, but also being a good friend to Elizabeth and to Nathan in a way, kind of helping them to clear up that kind of barrier for them, or whatever trepidation they were feeling at his expense. He kind of cleared that up for them. So yeah, he was great in this episode. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed him.
Yeah, I appreciated the way that he handled things.
For sure. Yes.
But before we get into Lucas and the investigation and the resort, the Canfields, what did you think about their storyline in this episode?
I'm loving their storyline. Anytime, and I've said this before, anytime When Calls the Heart handles a kind of like estranged friend, family member, immediate family in the show, they always do a really good job. And this is no exception. I think the kids taking it into their own hands of, sending a letter to their uncle because they want to meet him. They think, they can help resolve this misunderstanding. They don't know what happened at all, and Joseph hasn't told them. So obviously, maybe it wasn't the right thing for them to do, but I do think it's going to be for the best ultimately in the end.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great storyline for them.
I think so too. That first scene in the cafe, what did you think of Joseph's and also Angela and Cooper's reaction too?
I think that it's very clear that Joseph and his brother had some kind of, conversation. We know Joseph's in the past, even we've seen him to be a little bit of a proud man. He's very proud. He doesn't like
Yeah.
to take family help, is very, he cares about his family, himself, his opinions. So I'm guessing that the argument that happened between he and his brother might not be completely his brother's fault. There might have been some mutual stubbornness between them, but it's clear that, he's still very triggered by it, and I think
Yeah.
it's something he's probably going to have to work through.
I am very curious because in the letter that Joseph reads from Jacob, Jacob says that he's looking forward to his apology. So I wonder what that is about.
I have a few theories,
Go ahead.
but
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I think that Joseph's argument with his brother might be religion based. I have
Okay.
a feeling that because Joseph's a preacher, Joseph's a very religious man, I have a feeling that maybe his brother went another route. They had an argument and
Very
they're
well
just
could be.
not able to see eye to eye. That's my guess. I could be wrong about that, but that would be my guess.
I think that's a good theory. I have no idea what it could be, so I'll just go with your theory too,
Yeah.
because I honestly don't know. But I'm sure whatever the writers come up with will be great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm glad that Elizabeth in the scene at the school with Allie and of course Angela and Cooper kind of encouraged them that they need to tell their dad.
Honestly, she was super chill about the whole thing. Like, I was like, I probably would have been freaking out a little bit more, but she was super chill about the whole thing. So, yeah, I think she
Yeah.
handled that as well as anyone could handle it. And obviously, she encouraged them to do the right thing, which
Yeah.
I think is great.
Yeah. Even Angela and Cooper were asking her what she thinks they should do, and Elizabeth says, I think you know the answer to that.
hmm I do find it interesting that Allie continues to be incorporated in these scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to play into
Yep.
later where she
Yeah.
might do a similar course of
Mm-hmm.
action, but I don't think it's going to end as well. So,
No, we
and
know it
Elizabeth will
won't.
be more involved in that situation too.
Yes. I loved the scene with Joseph, Angela, and Cooper when they tell him. And he immediately, as soon as he comes in the door and sits down, he can tell that something is going on. He's like, okay, spill it. What's going on?
He knows. He knows. And I love his reaction. Instead
Yeah.
of getting angry,
Mm-hmm.
he allowed them to explain themselves, and once they explained themselves, he could understand where they were coming
Yeah.
from and just kind of held out his hands to them like we had
Yeah.
seen earlier in the season
Yeah.
when they were first discussing his brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he handled that well.
Mm-hmm.
I do think when it comes to actually, interacting with his brother, which we know will happen eventually, I do think that he might still struggle with some of those strong feelings that he has about the disagreement, but we
Mm-hmm.
shall see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I did get a little emotional in that scene. I did tear
hmm
up a little bit.
It's a really good scene.
Yeah. And even the one with Joseph and Minnie at the end of the episode was great too. And I loved what she said when they were talking about Jacob. She says, there's nothing more precious than family. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
hmm And she's right. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's this thing where you could potentially gain a new family member versus you're already not talking to them. If they don't want to have a relationship, that's already the way it is.
Yeah.
But if you rekindle the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you have a new member of your family.
Yeah. I love the Canfields. so much.
Yes, they're having a great season this season.
Yeah. I've said it before and I'll say it a million more. I'm so glad that they're a part of the show.
For sure. Yes.
Moving into the Coulters, who I'm also glad are a part of the show, of course. They only had one scene in this episode together, and it was the one when Lee tells Rosemary about becoming mayor, and I loved that.
Honestly, this was my favorite scene between the two of them all season because, Lee has wanted this for a very long time. Nobody knows that better than Rosemary. She was there watching his devastation after he was not elected mayor. And she knows how much he wants this. He presents the idea to her, says, this is something that's really meaningful to me.
I think I can make a difference.
And once he says that, that's when she knows that this is something that he's being called to do.
Yeah.
And she is super supportive in this scene. Like, so supportive. Because usually the roles are reversed. Lee is the one supporting Rosemary in a lot of her endeavors, but this was an opportunity for her to be supportive of him, and I really appreciated that. And like I said, it's my favorite scene of theirs of the season so far.
Yes, me too. I love when he walks in and he says he has news, and she says, in the nick of time, I need a headline for tomorrow. And then, of course, he promises that he won't let this get in the way of family time. And Rosemary's like, oh no, did we buy another saloon? And he's like, no, well, kind of. And she's like, Lee.
Oh my gosh. I will say, once again, Lee, this is not going to give you more family time. Sir, you need to know. Lee needs to stop lying to himself. This is not going to be more family time. I'm sorry, but it's just not.
Hopefully
he'll be doing good, which is great.
Yeah.
It's not just about the money. It's not just about the resort or the businesses. This is about him making a difference, which is what I wanted for him versus like more of like, oh, profitability. But like I said, my man is lying to himself. This is not going to free up his time at all. So, yeah.
Hopefully we'll be able to actually see more scenes with them this season before the finale.
I agree.
Yeah. And I love how Rosemary is talking about how she could always see herself as a political wife.
Which is so true. Like, if anyone would be a political wife on this show, it would be her. It would be her. So when she said that, I was like, I can't picture Elizabeth as a political wife. That was why it didn't make sense in season 10. But Rosemary, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
She's following in Dottie's footsteps.
For sure. I mean, she and Dottie were two peas in a pod. So
first with the dress shop and now with the maid.
Yes. She's Dottie 2.0. That's a good thing though, because Dottie was great as well.
Yes, I loved Dottie. I miss Dottie.
Yes.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe Erica can come back on the show sometime.
I hope so. That would be fun.
That would be fun to see. Yeah. And moving on to Mike and May, they also only had one scene together, really, in this episode. And it was after Maisie dozed off to sleep when May was giving her the acupressure.
Oh, yes.
That was a good scene.
That's what happens when you're living a busy life and you're just on the go all the time. And we know from Abigail's experience as mayor that a lot of times the women have to work twice as hard just to gain respect. And at this point, Maisie is trying to, push her weight around with the men of Hope Valley. So it's a stressful job for sure. So I can understand that. And I'm glad that she opened up to May about it a little bit.
And the face mask too. She gave her the face mask.
I'm a huge believer in face masks. So when I saw her with the full mud mask, I was like, oh, I kind of want to try that.
Yeah, I haven't done one in a long time. But I've
Yeah,
heard they're
I haven't done
great.
a
Yeah.
mud mask. I usually do
Yeah.
peel masks, but
Yeah, I think those are what I've done before, but it's been
yeah,
forever since I've done one.
they're less messy than the mud
Yeah.
mask. But yeah.
Yes. Going into Lucas and the investigation and the resort and Henry, because Henry was involved with Lucas this episode and the resort. We finally got more info a little bit on the investigation.
Did we? I don't know. I feel like, okay, so when Rosemary and Bill kind of figured out that Lucas would have been shot by close range based on where the bullet was in his file, I was kind of surprised because I feel like that's something that the Mounties should have already known, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the case was closed prematurely because of corruption, not because of just a lack of evidence. Yeah, Hardgraves. I think it was closed on a grounds of corruption versus actual lack of evidence. So obviously they're having to dig up all of these facts on their own. So I felt like that was something maybe that should have already been on the table, but I'm glad they discovered it, and I'm glad it's a new detail versus just Pike didn't do it. It's like, oh, we all know he didn't do it at this point.
Yeah.
Or do we? I don't know.
I love when Bill and Rosemary go into the Mountie office, and of course Nathan is there and says, "You showed Rosemary the case file?" And he's like, "I had to. We're a team." And Rosemary says, "We certainly are." And Nathan is like totally not thrilled.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh no." Now I have to deal with both of them, not just one.
He's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Whatever.
I love how, though, with Bill, he was so against Rosemary being, like, helping him out. And now, like, Bill is the type of person where once he's all in, he's all in. And at this point, he is all in with Rosemary. And I love that. It's hilarious.
Yes.
It's so
I
funny.
love them together as an investigative team.
Yeah. It's so funny. I love it.
One of my favorite things I think ever on the show. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah.
It's fun to see, and I can't wait to see more scenes with them.
Yeah. They're a fun pair.
Yeah.
And they work because they both have such extreme personalities. It kind of works in a they kind of get each other in a weird way. It's very funny.
Yeah. Did you see the new on location video with the Who Shot Lucas?
Yes, I did. And I saw that little shot. There were two Mounties going into the Mountie office.
And Rosemary was trying to.
Yes. She's like, "Oh, yep, I'm going to go in." And Bill's all like,
"Rosemary?"
No. Yeah.
Also, have we seen the scene where she knocks on the window of the saloon when Bill's in there?
We haven't yet. Yeah.
I didn't think so. She's like, "Bill."
Yeah. And he doesn't look overly annoyed, so.
And then the other one, when she comes and sits down, I think she's in the red top. And she's like, "I have something you need to see," or something along those lines.
Yeah, we still haven't seen that one yet.
I can't wait to see that one too. Going into the scene at the end with Bill, Rosemary, and Lucas, they share the information that they found about Pike. And of course, Lucas still assumes it's him because he is the one that confessed. Bill and Rosemary are concerned Pike didn't act alone, or that he might not have been there. The real culprit could still be roaming around, and Lucas could still be in danger. And I love how Lucas took that as in he appreciated the concern from Bill and Rosemary.
Right. Yeah. I think he he's still at a point where I think he wants to forget it, but at this point, he needs to start taking it seriously because just for his own safety, I would say. But he should probably start taking it a little more seriously. But I think now that he's starting to have flashbacks, which we'll talk about in a minute, I think he will start taking it more seriously. Right now, it's more he's just trying to leave it behind, which is understandable. But
yeah. Then they go to leave. He picks up the photo of the office, I guess, the governor's office in Capital City, and he starts to remember something. That flashback was brilliantly done.
It was so good. Like, I am a huge fan of thrillers and scary movies and scary stuff, and when I saw that I was like, ooh, this is good. Like, this is a little spooky here. Yeah. It's really good, really well done. And some of the things we saw a guy with a hat.
We saw the gun.
He doesn't have a beard or any facial hair. We saw a gun and an overturned umbrella and a car that the guy was getting out of. So a lot of little details there. Not enough to give anything away, which I think was what was so brilliant about it. Is that it didn't give anything away. But at the same time, some little details that I guess we'll be watching for.
Yeah. I was trying to like quickly keep pausing it to try to see the face, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, they did a good job. You can't tell. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, great job by the director, Elise, and the ones who
great
edited.
little piece of cinematography right there. Because I really feel like the camera work has been elevated a lot this season. And right there, this is a great example of it. So
totally agree. Yeah. I'm looking forward to finding out who actually did it.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. But moving on to the resort, what did you think of the scene with Lucas and Henry at the beginning when Lucas walks up to Henry and asks him to be on his team again or to help him?
It brought me back to season 7 when Lucas was trying to, find out from Henry what was going on with the oil business and the books and everything like that. There's like this they have a little bit of a tense moment because Henry's trying to explain that he doesn't want to do this anymore. And Lucas really wants him on the team. So understandably, Lucas and Henry, they see a lot. I think they see a lot of themselves in each other. And I think that's why Lucas knows that he needs Henry on his team. And I think Henry doesn't want to get sucked into that world again.
Yeah. He wants to take another road.
Yeah.
Now, Lucas doesn't always make the best decisions, but I do like what he said to Henry. It's not about me. This is about Hope Valley. This is about making sure that my hometown can benefit from my administration as much as those other places.
I think it's cool that he calls Hope Valley my hometown. I think that's a good moment of character development for him. I do think, and this might just be me nitpicking because I know the moment is sincere, but I do think that Lucas is the governor of the entire region. He's not the governor of Hope Valley. So I feel like he's showing a little too much favoritism to his hometown, which is something you're not really supposed to do when you're a politician.
Yeah.
But that's just my critique. I don't think that's important. So
no, I see what you're saying, and I agree. Yeah. It should be about all the towns, but I think he has good intentions, is what I'm trying to say.
Of course, yeah. He of course has good intentions, but
I mean, I would rather have Lucas as governor than Balfour of the territory. So
True, because yeah, no one would be happy under Balfour.
no, I mean Balfour was stealing water from the whole territory, and Lucas
Yes.
is trying to help the whole territory. So that was my
Mm-hmm.
intention of where I was going with that.
Right, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mike, Lee, and Maisie's meeting. Now, this is the first one. When Maisie gives the list of demands,
Oh yeah.
that's a long list there.
Yeah. I mean, of course she is gonna want to fight for her
Yeah.
town and obviously get the best deal possible for them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they want the best deal
Mm-hmm.
possible for Hope Valley. So
Yeah.
I'll get to this more later on. I
Okay.
don't think Maisie is wrong
No,
in where she stands.
I
In
agree.
fact, if I were voting, I would probably be voting with her
Mm-hmm.
versus with Hope Valley on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's in the right. But her methods could come off as a little bit abrasive. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. The idea is good and what she stands for is good, but the execution
Coming
is
off a
not
little harsh.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I do
Yeah.
agree with her
Mhm.
on where she stands. I think she has some good points. And I was
Yeah.
laughing with all the list of demands. We have Hope Valley building them a new train station, a railroad extension, a town dump, a band shell, a baseball diamond, and a new transportation system with 10 passenger buses, which will carry the tourist from the train station to the resort.
I mean, some of the things are unnecessary, like the baseball diamond. Come
Yeah.
on,
What is a
you
band
don't need
shell?
that. I honestly have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea.
I was just curious. If anyone knows what a band shell is, let us know in the comments
Yeah,
because I'm
please
so
do,
curious.
because I have no idea. But the buses seemed like a good idea
Yeah.
actually to me,
Yes.
because you're gonna need it. You can't just trundle people from the train station in a stagecoach or a
Yeah.
single vehicle. You got to have something.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the men of Hope Valley who are making this deal aren't actually taking into consideration the scale of it. They're going to need all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they keep thinking that they're not going to have to invest anything into it. They'll just be like, oh, people will just come. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. You
Yeah.
gotta think of all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of Henry and Joseph's scene at the cafe? I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I think that it just I could see where Henry's coming from. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually think Henry's right in this
Mm-hmm.
instance because power for him is the equivalent of alcohol to an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has destroyed his life and it has made him a bad, like a worse person
Mm-hmm.
every time he's in a position of power. And it's just something it's an ingrained part of him
Mm-hmm.
that has always been there. And I know Joseph means well and he's like, oh, share your wisdom,
Yeah.
everything like that, which is true. And I would love to see, you know, Henry share his wisdom with
Mm-hmm.
Lucas and even Lee, but I don't think Henry should become involved
Yeah.
because I don't think it's a good idea for him.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I definitely
Yeah.
see where you're going with that. And I have the
Yeah.
same feelings.
Yeah. So I didn't think Joseph's advice was the best, but I could see
Good
where
intentions.
yeah, and also I could see where they might go with it, where maybe Henry doesn't get
Mm-hmm.
involved, but he is there to counsel everyone who
Yeah.
is involved.
Yeah. I think so too. the scene at the school with Opal showing her drawing. I thought that was a good scene.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, who knew? Opal seems to be heading to being an architect.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. I'm glad Opal's back on the show. She's been there, but we haven't really
Yeah.
gotten any scenes with her. So I like that they're continuing her story. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
The town meeting. What did you think about this? Because this is when we find out, well, we knew before it actually happened, but Lucas shares that they either have to merge the towns or kill the resort, which means it'll be built in the hills of Jameson or Buxton. And the downside of merging towns means the school will fall under the jurisdiction of the Valley School District and they'll lose their independence. And nobody likes that. I love how Ned is like, well, if it's going to affect Elizabeth in school, nope.
Yeah. Love how he's instantly just like, nope,
Nope.
nope. Yeah, I don't like the resort. I don't think it's a good idea. I even more don't like the idea of the town merging with Benson
It's
Hills.
not going to happen, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that Lee, Lucas, and Hickam made that decision before speaking to the rest of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that Elizabeth has to give up her independence. What is happening, guys?
And
Oh my gosh.
we know
I
in the end it's not going to happen,
Of
but
course, of
yeah.
course. Yeah. Like I've said before, I don't dislike this storyline. In fact, I said at the beginning of this episode with you, I actually really enjoyed it this week. But because I enjoy it, the reason I enjoy it is because I see a lot of mistakes and flaws coming out in some of the characters who are involved in the politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to show growth for the characters
Yeah.
because they're going to learn from their mistakes and they're
Yeah.
going to grow from their flaws. But right now, this whole politics thing, it is not bringing the best results for Hope Valley. It's not bringing out the best in the people involved. It's just, it's a mess right now, guys. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth mentions they've had their issues with the school board before, but have always overcome them. And they also say it could mean more benefits and opportunities for the kids and better resources. Economically, it would mean a better future for the whole valley and for everyone in it. Elizabeth says yes, of course. And before all of this, when Ned has said, he doesn't like the idea and everyone agrees. I love how you can very subtly see Nathan step forward like he's in protector mode. Like, yes.
Yeah. You could tell Nathan knows that Elizabeth does not like this, but at the same time, I think Elizabeth wants Lucas to succeed in
Mhm.
his dream, and she doesn't want to stand in his way.
Mhm.
Just like, she encouraged him to follow his path. And even though that meant breaking up with him, she did want him to follow this path. And
Mhm.
so she is following through on that hope that he will, follow this
Yeah.
path and follow his dream. And part of his dream was this big plan for a resort. And
Mhm.
I may not like it, other people may not like it on the show, but it is something Lucas wants to do. So I think Elizabeth giving up her independence was mostly so that he could, you know, fulfill that big plan that he had wanted to enact.
Yeah.
So it was a big sacrifice on Elizabeth's part, but at the same time, I think she did it so that he
Yeah.
could fulfill his dream.
Mhm. Yeah. And I have a thought, and I'll hold off for just a second on that. But can we just briefly talk about the look back from Elizabeth to Nathan as if
Mm-hmm.
she's asking for his strength and reassurance? And,
Mm-hmm.
his smile says it. she has it. And I thought that was really
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting because I may be wrong about this interpretation, but I almost felt like it was a moment of Elizabeth's priorities shifting a little bit and her kind of like seeing, maybe teaching's not everything anymore. Maybe there's another chapter in my life that's about to unfold. Of course, teaching will always be her calling and who she is, but there's more to the picture now. And that's why I think she's more okay with the changes that are coming. And Nathan represents that new chapter. And so her kind of looking to him after making that decision, it kind of signifies, oh, there's more to my life than just the school right now.
Yeah. I think it's really sweet. And of course, he will always stand by her side. So, yeah.
Yes.
And Lucas, the fact he witnesses it.
He's picking up on it for sure.
Let's just say the triangle is over. It is over.
Yeah.
It is dead. With that moment right there.
Very, very much so, for sure.
Yeah. But getting to my thought about Lucas and the whole resort thing, I'm not saying I want Lucas to fail because I don't, but I think the writers are intentionally writing this storyline and setting it up for it to not work out so that maybe he can know what it's like to not always be successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because he's been very successful. Maybe not with the oil company as much. He bought Cowan out, but then when things started to like not go well, that's when he kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna resign and focus on family. So even the oil business not working out, he was already had one foot out the door when it started to go down. So I just think that it would be a big moment where he'd have to face some failure. Obviously, he's faced failure with his relationship with Elizabeth. I don't want to discount that, but it would be something else maybe that he's, faced failure with. And I don't want him to fail with the whole governor thing, but I'm not loving the resort. I don't think it's a good idea.
No.
And I just think there's more meaningful things he could be doing. So it might open the door to something a little more meaningful for him.
I think they are setting it up for him to fail because, like I said, we know the resort's not going to work out. And we know from the episode 12 synopsis that Lee and Rosemary come to him with a new idea for Hope Valley. So that just says it right there that it's not going to happen.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
It's also not going to happen because Jamestown can't build another building.
They're not going to build a resort. Yeah. Not going to happen. Sorry, guys.
The scene with Lucas and Elizabeth. I really appreciated this scene and what he said. I think it was a great moment.
Yeah. I think it was a good moment for both of them because they've had a lot of moments in that office. And this was the first time where it really felt like, okay, we're friends now. Like, this is not, it's not, it just, Elizabeth has been a little bit, chummy with Lucas, but also chummy with Nathan, like kind of just flip-flopping a little bit. But this was the first scene to me where I was like, okay, they're friends now. Like, it's not this weird in between. They're friends now. They're figuring out their rhythm, and I thought that was good. And Lucas, him being able to tell her that was good. I wish she had said it back to him as she was walking out the door. I think that would have been a nice gesture, but I think it was a very, very good scene for Lucas, I felt, and for Elizabeth.
He promises to do everything in his power to make sure she maintains independence with the school. I thought that was very thoughtful of him to say. And then he brings up how he meant what he said with how much her friendship means to him. And if you have the opportunity to be truly happy, you jump in with both feet. You deserve that. And of course, Elizabeth says she will. And that she does, which we will talk about in just a little bit. Good moment. Yeah.
For sure.
Moving into Nathan, Elizabeth, and Allie. I loved the first scene of the episode with Nathan and Allie. Thought it was really sweet.
Yeah. We all knew that, you know, it would be hard for him to hide that it affected him the first time when Elizabeth rejected him. And obviously, if anyone's going to see it, it's Allie. So I appreciated that she kind of, you know, could sense that was starting to be what he was feeling again. And she's looking out for him. She's old enough now to be able to express that to him as, you know, adult to adult.
Yeah, she says, I just don't want you to get hurt like before. And Nathan says, that was a long time ago. A lot has changed.
Although you could tell he still feels unsure about it when he says it. But, you know, it was a very nice moment between them, for sure.
Yes. Elizabeth and Lucas in town. Now, we saw most of this, or some of it, in the preview. But he basically apologizes to her for the ambush by Jeanette and for also not telling her about that relationship. And they weren't actually engaged. They just talked about it. Which is interesting.
Yeah. Jeanette was very, like, convinced they were engaged, but yeah.
Someone else? Like someone else we know? Season 1?
Yes. Yep. She's Rosemary 2.0 for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think it definitely, they weren't engaged. So I don't think it's as big of a deal that he didn't tell her.
No.
He was obviously the one who broke it off. So
yeah,
I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think it was worse that Jack didn't tell Elizabeth that he was engaged.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas should have told her, but at the same time, Jack should have told Elizabeth too, not Rosemary.
Yeah, especially since Rosemary was technically the one who broke it off. Yeah, Rosemary was the one who broke it off. So that's a big difference. Yeah.
To pursue the stage.
Yes.
The lights and glamour of Broadway and Hollywood. But Rosemary has changed now, and that's not who we are talking about. We are talking about Nathan and Elizabeth. And of course, Nathan sees the interaction.
Yeah. How many times is it now? He's seen them interacting. He's seen their picture on the front of the newspaper. He's seen Elizabeth going and like doing things with and for Lucas. He's seen her directly involved with the Easter egg hunt with him. Yeah. Like it makes total sense for him to be confused. And I've seen people out there that are like, oh, he's just like a pouty baby. I'm like, if you're judging off of this episode alone, maybe. But if you're judging off of this episode plus the rest of the season, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Complete sense.
And of course, he basically was very standoffish to her for a lot of the time after that. And I'm not going to lie, I did think the first interaction with them after he saw her with Lucas was a great scene. She brings Scout a bone from the soup that was made the day before. And, you know, she tries to talk to him and check in, but he's like, I really got to get this paperwork done. And she can tell right away something is off.
And she's actually a little offended about it.
I'm actually loving that she was offended.
Yes. I was glad that he was kind of cold with her because, you know, obviously if you separate her coming to visit him from her interaction with Lucas, like let's say he didn't see that, it would be super, super nice of her to come in, bring Scout a bone or whatever and everything like that. That's really nice. But in view of what he saw, she's like rubbing Lucas's arm and they're all like getting cozy and everything like that. Imagine comparing that, like seeing her rub his arm and just be like, oh yeah. And then her come into your office with her like leftovers and just be like, oh yeah, I've got my leftovers for your dog. Like it's such a like it's so ironic. It's like, yeah, she's hanging out with Lucas and here I am getting the leftovers, you know?
Yeah. I did love that she was offended because, of course,
Mm-hmm.
I love Elizabeth, but it did really make her think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes she just doesn't realize that, well, and also because Nathan's good at hiding it, but sometimes she just doesn't realize that what she does has consequences.
Mhm.
And this time he was just not having it. He's like, nope, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And she was a
Yeah.
little offended, but it did get her thinking.
Yes. But this time she does have feelings for Nathan. She loves Nathan. She's in love with Nathan. And she's upset that he's
Yeah. Well, she
avoiding
did
her.
every other time before as well,
Yeah.
but this time I think she thought her going to the office with the bone for Scout was her way of seeking him out.
Hmm.
But if he's seeing her in the street getting all cozy with Lucas,
Hmm.
of course he's going to be confused. And so he won't see that as a good thing.
Yeah.
He's going to see that as, oh, she's just, she just does this for everybody, you know?
Yeah. Before we get to the talk with Elizabeth and Rosemary, which was one of my favorite scenes in the episode,
Yes.
Anna is back in Hope Valley, and I love that. I love seeing Anna
Me too.
back in town.
Yes. I loved that.
Yeah.
As soon as she walked in the door, she just reminded me of all of those Jeanette Oak heroines who
Yeah.
are, like the young small town prairie teachers. I was just
Hmm.
like, she needs to be the heroine of her own,
Yeah.
teacher journey. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Following in her teacher's footsteps, and I love that.
Yes.
I thought the talk with Anna during lunch was pretty good too. Of course, with
Yeah.
Elizabeth. And,
Mm-hmm.
Anna is talking about how she's enjoying Capital City, but feels that teachers' college is a lot harder than she thought it was or is, and is further behind than the others. And I love Elizabeth's support of Anna
Mm-hmm.
and advice. She says, in my experience, there's a difference between how they teach you to teach and what you learn by actually doing it.
Yes. And she's right about that.
Yeah.
You can't teach someone like the full sense of teaching unless you're actually experiencing it, which is what
Yes.
she's doing in Hope Valley. She's having the practicum.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. One more thing I'll note from the school scenes with Anna. I love how Elizabeth let her ring the cowbell at the end of the day.
mhm. Yeah.
That was really sweet.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
even 9 seasons later, I love that they're still using the cowbell even though they have a school bell.
Yes, yes. It's true. I'm glad they never got rid of it.
Yes, me too. Elizabeth and Rosemary at the row houses. This was a great scene. And can we just talk about the fact that Elizabeth says, looking back, there was love, just not the love you had with Jack or that you have with Lee. And of course, she's referring to Lucas.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm glad she is, admitting that there was love between her and Lucas
Mm-hmm.
because
There was.
obviously there was. It wasn't like she didn't love him or have any
Yeah.
feelings for him, like, because that would be wrong. You don't get in that serious of a relationship with somebody if you don't love
Mm-hmm.
them to some degree. But obviously, it's not the love that she had for Jack. So when you have a love as strong as what she had for Jack, settling for anything less, it's not going to measure up. So I'm glad she brought Jack into the conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's an important reason why she is not with Lucas anymore. And I think it's an important thing to remember moving forward for Nathan and Elizabeth is that their love is going to, be on the same level.
Yes. Yes.
And
agreed.
I know we're not quite there yet, but I'm hoping that that's a sign of things to come.
I think it is. Yeah. Nathan and Lucas at the Queen of Hearts. This was another good scene, and I really appreciated how Lucas handled it.
Yeah. I saw somebody made a comment. It was a good little observation, but they said in the scene, Lucas is like, "Oh, you want to do around the clock for the darts?" And Nathan's like, "Oh, I don't trust my luck. Basically, I don't want to compete with you. I'm not going to be able to keep up." And it kind of matches the parallel of what's going on between he and Elizabeth. He knows that if there's something going on with Lucas, he's not going to be able to compete with that because she and Lucas have this history. And Lucas is much more smooth than he is. Lucas is rich and, got all the romance, and they have this relationship that they had in the past. So he can't, in his mind, he can't compete with that if Elizabeth is indeed interested in rekindling something with Lucas. So that was a nice little touch there, I thought. And then, of course, I liked how this scene, it was not on the nose. I felt like in season 8, when Nathan comes to visit Lucas and is just like, "Oh, she loves me, but she's not in love with me. She's loved you the whole time." It was so on the nose. It's like, Nathan would not have said that, okay? That's so dumb. It's so dumb. And this scene was handled in so much more of like a casual, like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're not together, but I'm still disappointed about it, but there's nothing I can do." And it was so casual and so not shoehorned the way it was in season 8. So I was like, thank you for making this conversation normal.
Yes.
Not making characters say things that they totally would not say.
Yeah. I'd rather have her as a friend than not have her in my life at all.
Yeah.
Well done, Lucas. Nathan and Elizabeth's talk in town. What am I to you? Are we just friends? The lip staring in this scene is next level.
Oh yeah. I was just shocked they were doing it in the middle of town. But yeah, it was like, whoa, okay.
They so wanted to kiss in that moment. They so did.
Oh yeah. And I love how even hearing that Lucas and Elizabeth are not together, Nathan doesn't just take that as, "Oh, well then I guess it's you and me." Like, he's still in doubt of it. Like, that answers part of the question, but it doesn't answer the whole question, and he's well aware of that. And I appreciated that because his next question to her is, "What am I to you?" Which is a valid question because she's obviously, seeking him out on a lot of occasions, which she wasn't doing for a while. I mean, she always kind of did it, but she's doing it more intentionally now.
Yeah.
And obviously he's confused, so.
I do love how Elizabeth immediately assures him that there's nothing going on with Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah. She almost seems surprised by it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it quite clicked for her that maybe he saw them. But yeah, I love how he apologized. And then she's very like, she gives him the benefit of the doubt. She's like, "Oh yeah, it must have just been a bad time." And he's very truthful with her. He's like, "No, I was mad because I thought this was happening and I didn't want it to happen." And she clears it up. My hope is that this isn't the last conversation like this we
I
have.
don't think it will be.
I'm hoping once she gets a little bit braver with her feelings, I have a feeling that we might see her start to admit to him why they were never together in the first place, which I
I
think is a
think
conversation they need to have.
I think they will, because Kevin did mention in the after show interview a couple weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
what happened in season 8 will be addressed.
Yeah. And I think it needs to be, because right now it's not, Nathan doesn't know anything that's going on. He has no idea apart from what Elizabeth tells him and what Lucas tells him. That's all he knows. He doesn't know what she's thinking. He doesn't know that she's thought this the whole time. He doesn't know any of that because he thought he knew, then she told him he didn't, and now he's confused. So she's going to have that conversation with him.
She will.
Yeah.
We just don't know what episode, because Kevin
Yeah.
didn't spill that, but he did spill what's happening. So
Yes.
before we move on to the last scene, Henry interrupting was not on my bingo card for season 11.
It wasn't on anyone's bingo card, and nobody wanted it on their bingo card.
Why, Henry?
I don't know. I just think they need to like have a little getaway from the town and just talk things out without being interrupted, because it's getting annoying
And
and
like,
frustrating.
really? He was the one that witnessed everything in season 2.
Yeah, exactly. The meeting was not that dire where you needed to break up the party.
But the last scene, first it's Nathan and Allie, and I love how Nathan calls Allie kiddo. That was so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of his nickname for her over the years. It's really cute.
And then her excusing herself to do homework.
Yeah. I love how, like, what's so funny to me is, like, she's super concerned and then she's like, oh, I gotta go do homework. And you see Nathan kind of like look at her like, what? And then he's just like, okay. Like, he just accepts it. He's like, okay. Teenagers, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes.
He's just like, whatever. I'm not even going to try to understand.
I love how Elizabeth goes to his house and she goes, of course, to give the answer to the question. I love how she did that. She made sure that he knew her answer. And this has been talked about on social media. I've seen a couple of comments where people are saying they love how she went to him as the man, not the Mountie, at his house.
Yeah, I love that too. Very casual setting, just out on his front porch. And, that their casual scenes are so great.
Yeah.
I think that I love how she went to him. I think that's a huge moment for her, but also for him, because he has, ever since season 7, he has gotten no kind of clarification from her apart from season 7. Season 7, she hugged him in the season 7 finale. That was a huge moment. And I think that's what tipped him off to figuring out that she had feelings for him. And ever since then, she's been keeping him at an arm's length away. This was the first time she went to him and expressed interest specifically, which was huge for him. It might have been a very small step in, the grand scheme of things, but it's a huge step for her, huge step for him, because he's never had that yet, apart from season 7.
Friends don't look at friends this way.
Yeah. That was, I felt like it was the safest way for her to say that, kind of. Obviously it gets the point across and he gets it. I felt like it was very, like, safe way for her to say, oh yeah, I'm interested in you. I think the more he's with her, the more he's going to realize, oh, wow, she's not just like starting to be interested in me. She's been in love with me the whole time. And I think once he realizes that, even a small thing like friends don't look at each other this way is going to be just scratching the surface of what she actually feels for him already. So it might have been kind of a safe response, but I do think he's going to find out more and more the more that their relationship progresses.
Well, yes, things up to this point have moved slower than we wanted. That was a huge step. I mean, she took him out of the friend zone.
Yes, yes. He's officially out of the friend zone, which is so great because the first 4 episodes were so slow, like in terms of their relationship progress, just because it'd be, oh, we've made 2 steps forward. Oh no, there's Lucas. We're taking 2 steps back. It was very much a push-pull. Now this is a clear forward step, and I think it's just gonna keep going forward from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more spinning our wheels. We're gonna move forward from here.
I think it's gonna start picking up now that everything has been cleared up with Lucas, and now that they are out of the friend zone.
Yeah. I think one thing that would have really put the scene over the top for me, in terms of execution, I would have really liked some kind of physical contact on her part. Like maybe she kisses his cheek or touches his shoulder or something like that. I would have liked some kind of physical contact, because it's one thing to just kind of go up to somebody, say something, and then walk away. It's another to make physical contact with them. And that kind of establishes the, relationship. So I would have liked maybe something like that. But, I'm sure we'll see more of that as the season goes on.
Maybe we'll see it in the next episode, something smaller.
You never know.
Nathan's reaction as she's walking away, that was everything. That was priceless.
You see the shock on his face. He's like shocked, and then all of a sudden it just kind of like the realization hits him, and he's like,
the smile on his face.
I'm out of the friend zone. Yeah, after 6 years, he is out of the friend zone.
Yes. I just have to say, before we wrap up our episode 5 discussion and go into episode 6, Nathan is channeling Charles Ingalls now. He's in his Charles Ingalls era with the shirt.
He sure is. Yeah, literally. I saw the shirt and I was like, oh, we've never seen that shirt before. And then someone pointed out to me afterwards, they're like, Charles Ingalls used to wear that shirt all the time. Yeah, with suspenders, no less. So, definitely entering his Charles Ingalls era.
Yes. First, the shirtless scene, and then the red shirt.
True. That's true. This isn't just a 1 episode thing. This is all season, folks.
Yep. He's in his Charles Ingalls era, and I'm not going to lie, I love it.
Yes, I'm here for it.
Yes.
For sure. Because Charles Ingalls is an icon.
Michael Landon is an icon.
Yeah. For sure.
Of course, all the Hearties know, or they should know, that his son, Michael Landon Jr., is the co-creator.
Yes.
When Calls the Heart.
Nice little tie-in there.
Yes. How about we talk about episode 6?
Let's do it. Yeah.
A big episode.
I'm super excited because when I heard there was an imposing figure and you could take it to the tape, I said Thomas Higgins possibly.
I did too.
Yes. You could take it to the tape. We both said Thomas Higgins possibly. And
we were right.
You were right. Yes.
That was another prediction. Check.
Yeah. So, I'm very excited. I was hoping it would be Thomas Higgins. Honestly, I couldn't hope for someone else more. I really wanted it to be Thomas Higgins because I see this as an opportunity for, Elizabeth not only to, fight for a cause, which I feel like the episode in season 4 where she's fighting for her job is one of the best episodes of the entire season, season 4. And I think seeing Elizabeth fight for something and something of this gravity is going to be a really good storyline for her. And I think it's
Yes.
really going to bring up some old emotions, and
Mhm.
it'll put her in a place where she is vulnerable
Yeah.
and can be vulnerable with Nathan. And I
Mhm.
think Nathan is going to go into protective Mountie mode and really get to shine in this episode.
Yes. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing most. Protective Nathan
Mhm.
of her.
Yeah. Because I will say, even when Thomas Higgins was threatening to take away Elizabeth's job in season 4, Jack did not have the opportunity to kind of protect her or help her
No,
through
because
that.
he was dealing with Doug.
He was dealing with Doug's death. He was dealing with the Northern Territory stuff. He did offer to go with her
Mm-hmm.
to Union City to meet with Thomas Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she turned him down because she was going with Abigail. But he didn't get that opportunity to really defend her in that way. And I love that Nathan's getting an opportunity to
Yes.
do that. I love it. I wanted
Yes.
Jack to do that back in the day, and we just didn't get to see it because he had other things going on. But I am so glad we get to
Yeah.
see Nathan do it.
Yes. Nobody messes with his Elizabeth.
Oh no. And nobody messes with, yeah, Elizabeth students either,
Yeah.
because that's gonna be a thing
Yeah.
too. So
That clip from the preview when
mm-hmm.
Nathan is
Oh
looking at
boy.
her.
Yes,
Not my
yes.
heart,
That
Nathan
look.
Grant.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. That clip alone is what excites me about this
I'm not
episode.
gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm very excited. And it's a pretty heavy topic. When
Elizabeth
Calls the Heart
Stewart
has
said
not
that.
tackled a topic this heavy in a long
Mm-hmm.
time, a very long time. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I like when they cover heavier, kind of sometimes, you know, not sensitive, but
Yeah.
like deeper, heavier, grittier topics. I like when they do that. It's always more interesting.
Yeah. And the second I saw the photos with Anna and Higgins, I was like,
Mm,
I knew exactly where this was
yeah.
going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure Elizabeth sees a lot of herself in Anna in those early years,
Mm-hmm.
and getting manipulated, or at least there's an attempt for manipulation
Mm-hmm.
in this. Yeah.
Yeah, Elizabeth is going to go into protective mode, like
Mm-hmm.
pretty much mama bear mode, so to speak,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
of Anna.
Yes. But
And
also she's going to be dealing possibly with some antagonizing from Higgins because she knows things about him. She could expose him, but he could, easily squash her career. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a big episode, very emotional episode, and I'm very excited.
yes, I think there will be some deep conversations, especially with Nathan and Elizabeth. And even Hallmark posted a while ago on Facebook with the photo of Nathan in town. The caption is Nathan may have a trick up his Mountie sleeve to help Elizabeth with Higgins in Sunday's all new episode of When Calls the Heart.
Mhm. I'm excited to see what that
Yes,
is.
yes,
I
me
think it's
too.
going to be good.
Some people have said they want to see Nathan go all Dylan Parks on Higgins.
Oh yeah, are you kidding? I mean, obviously I don't think that's what's going to happen,
No.
but it would be fun.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind cuz Higgins probably deserves it even more than Dylan did, honestly.
Yeah. Blech. Scumbag
Blech.
Higgins.
Oh yeah, Higgins is the worst. He's one of the worst characters on the entire show.
Nathan is going to deal with him and he's going to protect Elizabeth. And of course,
For
Anna
sure.
too, but definitely
Yeah.
Elizabeth. Before we wrap up, do we want to briefly talk about Allie Devereaux's interview and Elizabeth Stewart's interview with our friends Sarah and Julie?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So Allie, just a couple of things that she mentioned about season 11. She said, expect the unexpected, lots of surprises. And then when asked about the wedding, she says, unlike anything we've seen before. And then she says, we'll see people we won't expect. And there are a lot more stories to tell past this season. And I think they were even talking about, past a wedding with whatever couple is getting married. Like, love stories don't end at a wedding, I think, is something else they were talking about. So that's good to hear.
I'm glad they're keeping that in mind, because I would hate for it to let's say Elizabeth and Nathan get married this season or next season. I would hate for the show to end just because they're married. Like, that's dumb. The show would have gone on with Jack and Elizabeth getting married
Dan not left.
Daniel Lissing had stayed. So yeah, I believe in good stories, after the characters get married. Dr. Quinn did it. They got married before the show was well before the show ended. So you have a lot of different shows where the main couple is married. So yeah, it's not unheard of.
Yeah. And I mean, Little House even did it too. I mean, Mary and Adam were married way before the show ended. Laura and Almanzo, not Almanzo, as I came to find out recently. They were married long before the show too.
Yeah. And then Pa and Ma were just married the entire time. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes. In fact, seeing that for the main couple specifically is something we have not seen ever. And we saw maybe one episode with Jack and Elizabeth married, and it was, in my opinion, one of the best episodes. It was so sweet, and I loved what they were doing. But like I said, only one episode. I think we could do better with Nathan and Elizabeth.
Yeah, and even Erin said that she wants to see Elizabeth married for more than one episode at HFR, and that really tipped me off. That was, I think, one of the first things I was like,
yeah, I mean, I am still in the camp of, I think it's gonna be May and Hickam, not because I want it, but because I feel like that's the predictable thing to happen. But if it's Nathan and Elizabeth, I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna be so excited.
I mean, they did say expect the unexpected, and Nathan and Elizabeth would be unexpected because
way more unexpected than Hickam and May, for sure.
Hallmark is trying to make us think and expect it's Mike and May. And Elizabeth Stewart's interview, Tom is still feeling like he's in Jack's shadow, which I think the storyline with Tom is going to be good.
I think it's going to be great. I think it could be possible that, Tom is back in Hope Valley to kind of get some support from Elizabeth, maybe even get some closure with Jack. But I do think he still feels like he's in Jack's shadow, even though Jack is dead at this point. And I think that may even play into certain of his relationships. I think he's going to be in a bad place business-wise. I think he and Faith might connect in a way, but I think he may even struggle with that connection because Faith originally had a little bit of a crush on Jack versus him. And I think that connection that he makes is going to be, possibly dampened by the fact that he thinks he's still in Jack's shadow. And I think it could even mean that his attitude of feeling like he's in Jack's shadow could even lead to some conversations between Nathan and Elizabeth about maybe Nathan feeling like he's in Jack's shadow sometimes, or the conversation Elizabeth had with Nathan saying she was looking for Jack and him. So I think there's going to be a lot of Jack talk, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. I think if I were to make a prediction, when the season 8 things are going to be addressed, like Kevin promised they would be in the after show interview. I'm going to call it right now, and it's going to be in episode 7 or 8.
I would have to
When
agree with that.
Tom
I definitely think
comes.
anytime this show talks about Jack, as in like after Jack has died, anytime the show addresses Jack and talks about Jack, there is forward movement, as in people grow, people talk about things that maybe previously they weren't ready to talk about, or you could see the progress that a character is making or the show is making every time they address Jack. It's like, oh, is this as sensitive of a topic versus, oh, can we talk about it a little more casually? Can we talk about it more? Can we talk about it in terms of applying it to what's happening right now? And you could see the show progress every time Jack and his memory comes up. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. And like you said, I think there's going to be some forward movement once we start talking about Jack again.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm looking forward to seeing the scene when Elizabeth is at Jack's grave again and Tom shows up.
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Good scene. And I'm pretty sure Elizabeth mentioned it in Sarah and Julie's interview too, but I know she mentioned it in Heart to Hearties that Nathan and Elizabeth were always meant to be together, kind of like a destiny thing. And I'm going to bring up my theory right now. The episode 12 synopsis says that Nathan and Elizabeth share secrets or exchange secrets. This has been talked about a lot on social media recently since that synopsis has dropped. It's been in fanfics before from some of our Heartie writers out there. What if one of Nathan's secrets is that he was originally supposed to be the one in Coal Valley instead of Jack?
I think that could be fascinating. I think it would be very, very interesting.
Yeah. And Jack fans, don't hate me. Jack and Elizabeth fans, don't hate me. I love Jack. I love Jack and Elizabeth, but I'm not going to lie. I think that would be really cool to see.
It would, for sure.
Yeah. And it would line up timing wise because of Colleen.
Oh yeah. It would line up perfectly, actually.
Yeah. And it would fit with the whole destiny thing that Elizabeth's story said. So
yes.
It would be fun to see. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything for episode 5 and episode 6 that we know of so far. Always fun chatting. And I can't wait for next week.
I'm very excited. Next week's going to be a good time.
Yes. Or this week, I should say.
Yeah, true.
Yes. 4 days, I think. 3 or 4 days.
I think so, yeah. Not long.
Yep. All right, Hearties. Well, I think that wraps up our review of When Calls the Heart, Season 11, Episode 5, Stronger Together. If you enjoyed this episode, you can like this video and share your thoughts on the episode and any predictions you have about the rest of the season in the comments. If you want to stay up to date on all of our reviews for the rest of the season and any movie reviews or interviews I might have in the future, you can subscribe to this channel and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when new episodes come. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next week. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.